Hey guys, welcome back to MathSQ. Today we are doing physics paper of International Advanced Level Unit 4, Further Mechanics, Fields and Particles. So we'll be only going through the MCQs. So this was originally was supposed to be set in May 2020, but due to Corona, it was set in October-November. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first question is: two equal positive charges are placed at y and z. Okay. Point X is equidistant from y and z. Which of the following shows the direction of electric field at point X? So in case if you're wondering what equidistant is, that's basically the same distance from y to x and x to z. So that's the same distance, equal distance, and they're asking us to find the direction of electric field at point X here. So what our first step will be is to cancel out the wrong options here, and how we can do it is easily just notice that they said that two equal positive charges. So y and z are two equal positive charges, and um, the direction of x can't be in this side or in this side. uh, it can be said that the direction of the field has an resultant force that can't be in the left or right direction, because there are two equal positive charges. If it would been y would have been positive one or z would have been negative, so I could have said that x is moving in this direction, or the left one or the right one. So we can cancel out a and c options. Now moving on to the b and d one. So if you can see the components of field due to y and z, along the direction, you can see y and z are perpendicular from x, they are in perpendicular direction. So we can see that resultant is pushing it downwards in this side. So we can say that b would be our right choice. Moving on to the second question. The second question is: a student writes the following equation for the decay of a neutron. That's neutron into when it decays, we get proton plus an electron and an electron neutrino. And they say which of the following conservation laws is violated by the equation he has written. So what we'll do is we'll check the charge first. For me, I'll go for the charge. You can go for the baryon either. So if we know that neutron has a charge of 0, doesn't have a charge, proton has plus 1, that's on the other side, electron has a minus charge, and electron neutrino doesn't have a charge, so it's same as neutron. So plus and minus 1 has been conserved, that gives us 0. So both are 0 on both sides, so that's conserved, the charge is conserved. Now moving on to the baryon number. We know that the baryon number of neutron is 1, and baryon number of proton is 1 also, and electron doesn't have a baryon number, neither does electron neutrino, because proton and neutrons are made up of 3 quarks, so they have a baryon number. So baryon number is being conserved, we can say 1 and 1 on the other side. Now moving on to the lepton number. Now talking about the lepton number, neutron doesn't have a lepton number, neither does proton, because these are not hadrons. Only hadrons are called the lepton number. And you can see the electron has a lepton number of positive 1, and we can see that the electron neutrino does have a lepton number of positive 1 also. So this means that we have a 0 on the left hand side and we have a 2 on the right hand side, so that doesn't follow the conservation laws, and that means that D is our final option. Moving on to the third question. A potential difference PdV is connected across a capacitor of capacitance C. The charge stored on the capacitor is Q. The capacitor is replaced with two capacitors, each of capacitance 2C in parallel, so they are doubled. And the question is, what is the total charge stored? So very pretty easy question here. What we'll do is we'll just cancel out the wrong options, that's Q4 and that's Q. So why did I cancel these out is because to get to know what the total charge stored is, the formula is Q equal to CV, where Q is the charge, C is the capacitance, and V is the voltage. Now what we'll do is we'll just calculate the Q value. We have 2C here and 2C here, so we have the double of C. So 2C, we'll write 2C in brackets and 2C again and a V. So when we multiply these terms, we get 2 into 2, that's 4, that's 4CV, or you can say 4Q also. So our option is D. So you have to save your time here. The fourth question is, the SI unit of capacitance is the farads. So we write F, farads, that's measured in farads. Which of the following gives the base units of the farads? Okay, now we know that capacitance is equal to the charge upon voltage, which can also be written as the charge is measured in coulombs, that's also C, and voltage is measured in volts, that's V. So writing only C upon V or CV inverse 1 would not be enough, so because we have to find the base units. So A won't be our option, neither B will our option B, because that's joules, that's upon joules, that upon energy, it can't be. And now we are only left with C and D. Now we also know that charge you can say is equal to the current into time. There you go. Or you can say coulomb, basically we measure it coulomb, but I'm using the base units now. So the base units of the current are ampere and time is measured in seconds. So that will be written as A into S, and the unit for the charge will be coulomb. There you go. Now moving on to the base units of voltage. Basically voltage is V equal to electric field strength, which is E into D, and we know that electric field strength is E equal to Newton over charge. There you go, that's NC minus 1. Changing the units of D, which is meter, and we know that Newton is measured in kg meter per second. So there you go, kg meter per second into meter. And C, what I'll do is I'll just take C, the S or the time down, so I'll become S square, and then meter into meter will become meter square. There you go, V equal to kg meter square upon S square C. Now what I'll do is I'll just plug these base units here into their respective units. There you go. There you go. C equal to AS, that was originally the charge upon voltage, which was kg meter square upon S square C. Now what happens when I divide AS by kg meter square upon S square, that's multiplied, and this S square and C, that goes upside on the numerator. There you go, AS C S squared we had originally. Now we know that C is the charge, and the units for it is again the current into time, so I'll write it down. Now we have the like terms A and A, S and S square, so I'll just add these powers and multiply A and A together, so that we get, there you go, A square and S to the power 4 upon kg meter square. And if you notice that we don't have S4 or S quadrupled in the D option here, that's S to the power minus 2, so our only option is C, which coincides with the base units we found, that's for farads. And now moving on to the fifth question. The fifth question is, a gas molecule of mass m traveling at speed v strikes the side of the gas cylinder at an angle theta. The collision takes time t. What is the average force acting on the side of the gas cylinder? So I'll add the force formula in terms of momentum. There you go, F equal to change in momentum upon change in time, or you can say time only, and change in momentum is, as you can see from the option, A can't be it, that's mv upon t, that's ignoring the initial value. Looking at the B option, it does ignores the angle that's been given, here's theta, so B can't be our option. Moving on to C and D. Now if you remember the impulse on a wall, and that's minus 2 mv, and when we are finding the average force, we can ignore the minus sign, so we can see the D part does include the 2 mv here, so that will be the D1 2 mv sine theta upon t. That's our final answer.